What is up, everyone? Welcome to the new Dissected art. It is very, very small, but great potential. So have a look. I've got my metal cutting area for prepping all this stock. These are all frames. These are all pins, just waiting to be made. I've got a big piece of titanium here. That's gonna be hundreds of hooks. Got my drilling area and manual fabrication. This is for bending the hooks. Obviously, I've still got motorcycle related stuff. This is a garage. I am having to adapt to a very small area. This is just a one-car garage. But anyway, let's look at the primary attraction in here. Right here. So here's my workspace. Here's my tool cart. You'll notice lots of very different tools. And then here's my machine. It is small but mighty. I actually had to build it all pretty much myself. Typical CNC machines sort of start at about 60,000 or so, 50,000 maybe if you're getting like a more entry-level commercial one. This is considered a prototyping machine, but if you buy a whole bunch of accessories with it, you can get a pretty good amount of automation. Like right here. This is the ATC. This is huge. Let's see. Let's see, we will, and main. Okay, so we'll go into here. We'll do tool 300, enter, yes. How awesome is that? So that's something I never had before on my old machine, which means every single time there's a tool change, I have to manually go in and remove that tool and put in the new one. That may not sound like a big deal, but when you're doing a couple hundred tool changes a day, doing production, making tons of hooks, that means I have to be next to the machine almost the entire day, because some of these tools they're only machining for less than a minute. Some tools are machining for 15 minutes or more. But yeah, anyway, that is, this is like having an employee, but an employee that doesn't get paid and works unlimited hours and doesn't complain about living in a garage. Anyway, this is Jarvis Jr. My old machine was about 1,500 pounds, how it was set up. As the name would imply, this is only 440 pounds. But the automation that I have is amazing. Not only do I have the ATC, this is programmable coolant. So this is actually adjusting the flow of coolant to make sure it's always hitting the tip. If you're changing tools, it doesn't really matter. Changing tools automatically, it doesn't really matter if your coolant stream isn't pointed at the tip of the tool, because then the tool overheats. It's not washing away chips. And so your tool will break, and potentially really bad stuff. If you cause enough friction and you have chips that are dry, they can actually combust. I've actually lit titanium on fire. And at the time, I just didn't have coolant on my machine. So I actually had to, I actually only had one source of putting out the fire, which was an energy drink. So I sat there and in shame, poured an energy drink all over my lathe. I have a fire extinguisher now, so hopefully that'll never happen. But the technology is there to make it much more difficult for it to happen. So I've already got a lot of orders placed that are outstanding. So for those of you who've been waiting, thank you so much for your patience. I've been definitely, well, I don't have any hair, but metaphorically ripping my hair out with how difficult this has been. So a commercial machine comes essentially fully assembled, and see, I've got a leaking air compressor also, because I'm not even using it and it just cycled on. So just another thing I gotta deal with. This is the whole pneumatic system. So there's a whole lot of air powered devices that I'm using, and anyway, it was something I just had to develop on my own. I mean, this essentially comes as a kit. So not only do I not have somebody doing final installation, it literally comes in a dozen or more boxes. And every single thing has to be made. But what I'm doing differently this time, which is big, the only reason I was okay with getting a machine this small was the belief in knowledge, theoretically, but definitely sound, like a sound theory, which is that by adding automation, I don't have to run things in batches anymore. Before, orders would pile up because I'd have to do it in a batch, and basically I couldn't ship any orders until all the orders were done. It's a nightmare situation. No one wants to wait for that long. Obviously the pandemic made this order take forever. I just had no access to a machine, and my old machine, which I was supposed to have access to, got sold out from under me. Yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow. Because I didn't have enough money to get this. This is, even though it might not look like much, this was, I've actually spent almost $30,000 setting up this shop at this point. Which is, a lot of it just comes in the form of tooling. Like these things get very, very expensive. Some of these are very specialized. Like this is a tension compression tapping head using a form tap. And this is what's used to prep the stock to even put it on the fixture. The fixtures that I was using had lots of problems. Mostly that it just took a long time to swap them out. Going from one fixture to the next was a nightmare, and then the swapping process wasn't giving me consistent results. I was having to constantly recalibrate things, and if things were off at all, that entire fixture of parts was destroyed. So I have a video which I'll post a link to that really breaks down the whole process. It's like a couple hours of video. It's a pretty long process, but essentially this is the fixture. These look like frames, but this is just the fixture, and the frames bolt down onto this from behind. Threaded screws come through here and hold it down so that the parts are held down flat and it's totally exposed on the surface. So I can go down, use an end mill, surface it nice and smooth. You see the surface finish as the metal comes is very rough. But when all is said and done, it looks like that. So, yeah, anyway, needless to say, there's a lot of operations. So there's an operation that even comes before this, which I don't have that fixture anymore. It doesn't fit on this machine. I just have to machine a new one. This machine is smaller. That's one of the big things that has thrown my production process a little bit into whack. I mean, like, it just means that I have to remake all of my fixtures, which I've already gotten programmed. I'm just changing the dimensions. But after there, I get these, and then the parts go in here. There's a little groove under here, and it holds them all down. These clamps, I screw these down, and these outer pieces, this extrusion underneath this wedge, spreads apart, and it holds the part flat. That is of critical importance because these are only 1/8 of an inch thick, 125 thou. So if they're off, you end up with like a wedge shaped frame, which now they don't bolt together right, the pin doesn't go in right, nothing works right. Even though suspension hooks seem like a pretty simple thing, if you're dialing it in to the point of perfection, like I'm shooting for watchmaker precision. A lot of people don't appreciate that. I get that. They're like, why am I gonna buy a $300 pair of hooks whenever I can get $2 fish hooks? And they work also. People use fish hooks for a long time. Obviously, I'm not interested in satisfying that demand. I am interested in just producing the finest suspension hooks that have ever been made. And yeah, I mean, please, if you found some that you think are on this level, message me. I'd love to see them. I'd love to talk to whoever else is doing this. I mean, you know, I really kind of shot myself in the foot whenever I went for extreme quality, because it's really expensive to produce them this way. I mean, some of these tools are extremely expensive. Here, let's do A2C. So some of the tools are super tiny. They actually get a lot smaller than that. Check that out. So, yeah, so some of these tools, for reference, this is 1 inch. So very, very tiny. They break very easily. It took, there were a lot of broken tools involved in bringing this product to fruition. A lot of trial and error, and oh my God, the biggest nightmare ever. Where is it? Oh my God. So this tool right here is a back chamfering device. So this is what gives me this perfect beveled edge on both sides. And the reason why it's able to produce that so perfectly is because it goes around on one side, cuts the chamfer. It's flat when it does that. I'll show you, you'll see it in the video. But it goes around and then it goes down behind and it cuts the chamfer on the backside. And that makes the chamfer identical on both sides, which is virtually impossible in any other manner. These tools, they all wear out. These are all consumable tooling. This one's $100. And so I was dreading it because I realized I didn't have any more. And then I looked on the manufacturer website. Not only are they crazy expensive, they discontinued this tool. And machine tools are very specific. Like it's very difficult to think any other manufacturer is making an identical tool. So I was faced with a situation of, okay, I have to adjust my code. I have to like figure out a new tool that will make this work. And that's a tough prospect because a lot of tools are really, really expensive. So to buy them, test them, find out they don't work or they break, now I gotta buy more. So in my frustration searching for things, I just started digging through stuff and I found a single cutter this is gonna wear out. So I'm gonna have to go through that prototyping process. But basically all the outstanding orders I should be able to complete in the same manner that I did previous hooks. But these are improvement. Like every single hook I make is an improvement. I am not okay with just producing the same quality over and over again. If I find something that can be improved, I improve it. I'm a little bit obsessive like that. It's definitely destroyed my profitability just because I'm a little bit crazy. But with this machine, I am hopeful that I will be able to make these hooks indefinitely. Obviously, I can't be certain. I don't know what the future holds. But this was my farewell batch. And I don't want to say that it's not my farewell batch because this machine is partially being paid for by a new business partner. And we have another product. He's very patient. Like, he knows I've got tons of orders outstanding. He's like, fill those. But after that, we're going full force into this new product, which is pretty exciting. Some of you might appreciate it. But totally unrelated to suspension or body art or anything like that. But that is the only way I could afford this machine. Unfortunately, suspension hooks are not profitable enough to sustain a machine shop as a sole product. Even if I were to get the price really low to where, like right now, I do make more off of the hooks than it costs to produce them. But not by enough to give me more than like an annual fast food job would provide me with, as sad as it is for me to say. I've always had a hope that it would go beyond that, but I'm lucky to pull $20,000 a year making suspension hooks, and like half of that is costs. So I'm only netting 10 grand a year at best. Thankfully, I've had a wife who has been really supportive. She knows the future. She says, you know, that if we're ever rich, it will be because of my creations and not her work, because she wants to work in nonprofit and stuff. Definitely. Definitely not going to make us rich, but at the same time, we support each other in being fulfilled in what we're doing. And she's fulfilled with that. And machining is the most rewarding thing I've ever done. The concept of creating something like this from just blocks of metal, you might as well have been telling me to create a spaceship whenever I got into this. It's just totally impossible. A lot of people have in their mind that CNC means you just toss a piece of metal in there and press start, and 10 minutes later you pull a part out. Unfortunately, and I thought that, like in the beginning, whenever I bought my first CNC, I was like, this is gonna be easy. It's basically a microwave. 6 months later, after I managed to make the machine like turn on and move around, at that point I knew I was in for something, but I'm terrible at admitting that I was wrong. And so just out of frustration, I fumbled through the process until where I'm at now, which is a pretty advanced machinist. I've worked in all different fields. I've worked in biomedical engineering, I've worked in automotive, surgical tools, fixturing and engineering equipment. I've always had to do these other things to supplement the suspension hooks, just so I could keep the machine and keep things rolling. But anyway, it's been a very rough going. This machine was actually dead on arrival. Yeah, talk about a frustrating thing. Thankfully, they didn't start my monthly payments until after the machine was functioning, but that took almost 8 weeks. I've been sent and installed 3 automatic tool changers and had to be on tech support and doing all this stuff. I still think Tormach is a good company, but they got the price low by outsourcing everything. And if the machine isn't assembled whenever it arrives, that means they don't really know if everything's gonna work. Like not everything has been tested, you know, assembled. Like things are kind of inspected. And yeah, unfortunately, I've just suffered the reality of that. But we are moving forward nonetheless. Things are all working now. Everything is set up. I had to build all of this. I built the stand, I built the enclosure, built the monitor mount, built the pneumatic system. I even built my workbench. You know, just everything has to be constructed for the manufacturing process. It's not just the machine. Every aspect of the process has to be perfected if you want consistent results. And I think I'm gonna have the best hooks I've ever made coming off of this machine. I'm certain I will. Partially it's because I've come up with better ideas. Like since I made this last process, I've been out of the game for almost 2 years now. I mean, I made some hooks during that, like by going and using my old machine, but once the pandemic hit, I couldn't leave. I couldn't go there. Like, my wife's a cancer survivor. I can't put her at risk by just traveling around and doing these things as much as I would have loved to. But anyway, I know a lot of people are definitely dealing with a lot of rough times with this pandemic. I know it also. I've lost a family member at this point. I wasn't even able to be with them for the end of their life or go to the funeral. So, you know, unfortunately, we're still moving in the wrong direction, but hopefully we can turn this thing around and we can kind of go back to life as normal. I realize a lot of people who bought these suspension hooks, they bought them before the pandemic, you know, really set in. And, you know, a lot of these people probably aren't going to be able to suspend with these for a while, which is terrible. And we're not having any events or anything. Trying not to dwell on the pandemic because there's really nothing I can do. Just, I hope everyone's staying safe. Anyway, I digress. But this is the beginning of something really good. It's been a really rough start, but this is going to be really good. This is going to change. This is going to change everything. Potentially, I can make these hooks indefinitely. Time will tell, but I'm going to be posting a lot more videos. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. I'm going to be posting things everywhere. I've got a Dissected Art Facebook page. I have the People Who Suspend page. I have my personal page. And then same with Instagram. So whatever you feel interested in following, please do. I'd love to chat with you guys. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, I'd love to answer them. I'm all by myself. Like, my wife went on a road trip to visit family. So I've got another 2 months just all by myself here working in the shop. I couldn't go with her. I just didn't feel right, like, leaving town for like an extended period of time when I'm not caught up with orders. But I will be soon, and life will go back to normal eventually. And I hope you guys, I hope we all get to suspend together. We're gonna get through this. But anyway, that's all I got. Talk to you guys later.